Tell me a little bit about your life growing up. Where you were, it says you were born, no, it doesn't say where you were born. Tell me where you were born. In Philadelphia.
Yes. Philadelphia's a big city. I grew up pretty much in the city. Interesting neighborhood. It was an all Jewish neighborhood. Lots of Jewish immigrants and first generation Jews. And so for blocks and blocks and blocks of just nothing but Jewish people. So except for an occasional family who wasn't. And my best friend across the driveway from us was Catholic. And Judy Marini, I remember. And I would go to her house and we'd play, every day we played. And, but I remember there was a crucifix above her bed, and I remember coming home and asking my mother, because that was the first time, what this was. And I don't remember what she said.
But that was your first
Yes.
experience someone other than
exactly.
Yeah. I guess the culture that you grow up in does a lot toward what you bring to later life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was a profound statement, wasn't it? Tell me a little bit about your parents. What were their profession? What did they do?
So my mother was a housekeeper. Housekeeper, that's not the word.
Homemaker.
Homemaker. Oh, housekeeper. Homemaker. And my father was worked in a factory that made cabinets for cameras. And then he later became a teacher, mathematics teacher in a high school. My mother was, she grew up Orthodox Jewish. So she was very strict in her upbringing. I remember she had separate sets of dishes, one for Passover and one for regular use. But my father would have nothing of that. He was not religious at all. And so I remember there was some argument or something, and she finally got rid of the Passover dishes. So he was not religious, especially. I think my mother was more so than he. But I had to go to Hebrew school.
Right.
So starting around 8, 9 years of age, you began going to Hebrew school, after public school. And because you have to train for your bar mitzvah. Yeah, thank you. And when you're 13. And I hated Hebrew school. But I was really good at it. Because I could read the Hebrew. Yeah, I picked it up quickly. So that was good. But I had a terrible voice, and you had to sing chant. So I used to cut the Hebrew school all the time, and my parents would find out, and they would.
Mama didn't like that.
Papa didn't like that, especially.
He knows you cut.
Yes. But anyway, so I didn't want to continue with Hebrew school. My father said, well, you're going to be bar mitzvah. I was bar mitzvah. My father before he was bar mitzvah. His father, and so on and so forth, down to whenever, Abraham. So you're going to be bar mitzvah. And, so I did. And I was, but that's it. I never go to synagogue. After that was it.
But you worked really hard for the bar mitzvah.
No.
Well, what did you do for fun? You had to have, yeah.
Oh, no, it was great. I mean, we had so many kids in our neighborhood growing up. It was wonderful. Great. We played every day. We played ball in the streets. And
did your parents go to college?
My father did.
Right.
My father was really a very bright person. I think he had a IQ like 160 or something, some crazy thing. And he was very, very bright. Always reading. And listening to music. So I grew up in my home. I didn't grow up with Taylor Swift or or anything like that, but we listened to Mahler and Shostakovich and Brahms.
Classical.
Beethoven.
So did you take any music lessons as a child?
Sure, yeah. So I have an older brother who he's 6 years older, and he was playing the piano. So I would be going to bed when he would be practicing. And he really practiced hard. I think he was something of a child prodigy. And So when I was a little kid, 5, 6 years old, he was practicing. He would come home from school and practice for 3, 4, 5 hours. And he was dedicated, and he was very, very good. So I grew up with that. And then when I was about 8 or so, I started taking piano lessons. And I did okay for a while, and then for some reason or other, something happened. I don't know, and I really started hating piano lessons. I started dreading it. And when I was about 13, I stopped. I think I broke my arm on a skateboard accident. And so that was a good excuse to stop taking piano lessons.
So how did you go from stopping taking the piano lessons to ending up teaching?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I still continued to play. I developed all kinds of bad habits. Not just piano habits, but other kinds of bad habits, but through my teenage years. And but when I finished high school, I had trouble finishing high school. In fact, I dropped out of high school. Between 10th and 11th grade, dropped out of high school. I think I was ADD.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had great difficulty, and probably other problems. And I feel like I should be lying down now.
You will stretch out, go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
you just have to
be
keep
smoking
talking.
a cigar.
I'll do this.
So, I don't know where was I?
You had dropped out of high school, you'd gone.
Yeah, so when I finally did finish high school, and it took a while, I didn't know what to do. But I knew I liked music, and I played the piano, I could play. And, I played in bands and all kinds of stuff. So I applied to the music school at Temple University, it was right there, and they accepted me. And, so once I got to school, I think I had finished sowing my wild seeds, and I was able to settle down and focus. And so I was really, at that point, I was kind of serious. So when I see these guys out here as undergraduate students, many of them are very serious, but maybe some are not so. But I encourage you to try
to find your passion, because music is obviously your passion.
Exactly. Right, and I believe I found it.
And do you have teachers or people that you look back on that really kind of nurtured and nourished that passion?
Yes. I think I had some teachers, though, who probably were encouraging me maybe to even do something else. So I'm not so sure that they were encouraging my passion so much, but they were. I had wonderful relationships with teachers. I had very good relationships. Yeah.
What choices that you made were the most important for your career?
Well, okay. So when I finished my master's degree, I went off for a master's degree, I met my future wife, and we were married. Yes, we were already married. I was a wise old man, 24, and she was a baby at 19. So, but anyway, but we're still happily married. And we headed out to Indiana University, and I applied for the doctoral program. I thought that's what I would have to do. And my wife applied, she was a singer, so she applied in voice, and she didn't get it. And it crushed her. But we went anyway. She really sacrificed.
Right.
For me, in many, many ways. And I really owe, so much to her. So we were there for about 2 years, and the light at the end of my tunnel went out. And she was struggling. She was working at Sears Customer Convenience in Bloomington, Indiana. And then she got a job on campus. And she was working in the chancellor's office, and she was kind of unhappy doing it, as you can imagine. And she started taking computer science courses at the university, and she could do that for free, which was very nice. and she took maybe 2 or 3 programming courses. And IBM came on campus. And at that time, they were looking for women, and they hired her. And so this was a chance to go back east. And and like I said, you know, I was getting tired of what I was doing. So we went back. We didn't go back to Philadelphia. We went back to New York area, and she got a job there. And I was hired as a temp at IBM, delivering mail, and I learned how to run one of those giant copy machines, Xerox copy machines. And after 3 months, they didn't renew my temporary status. And,
So y'all just kind of flip-flop.
I don't know why. Anyway, so I said, well, I got to finish. And so I went back to IU and finished my whatever I had to do. It was difficult.
It was your doctorate, right?
Exactly. So that was an important thing.
And is your doctorate, what is your doctorate in? Is it in performance? Or?
Yes, it's in performance and music history. Yes.
So how did you get from all of this into here at Columbia College?
So a friend of mine had already completed her degree, and she was in North Carolina, Elon College.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally finished my degree, it took 6 years, or something, 7 years. She said, "Why don't you come down and teach part-time? You can do something." And my wife was able to transfer in IBM. Very nice. So she worked in Cary, North Carolina, and we lived in Durham. And I commuted to Elon College. Elon College now it's Elon University. And so I was there for a year. And I came down here to judge a competition. I met Robin Gibson.
Yes.
And she said, "Why don't you apply for this job?" You know. And so I did. And, here I've been here for 26 years.
You gonna stay a while?
Another 26?
I think more people than you have stayed that long, possibly. And that's not a bad thing. What's the best piece of advice you ever received? I'm an alum. I know a lot of old timers.
The best piece of it, I know one thing. Advice, and I just read this the other day. Advice is the easiest thing to give and the hardest thing to take. So, but I can't think of the best advice. Probably it's from my wife.
Well,
Wake up or something.
she probably told you to go for it, whatever it was. Tell me about your performance. What was it like performing at Carnegie Hall? We all, those of us who've had a chance to perform, just that to me is wonderful.
Well, it was stressful. I can tell you that. I remember that day very well. I was in Philadelphia and I was practicing at a Steinway dealership in Philly, so to warm up. I think it was on a Sunday, and I was driving back to my parents' house, and I was going to then go with all of them up to New York. And the water pump or something in my car that I was driving broke, and so I was in the middle of North Philadelphia, which is kind of a scary place to be sometimes, and I had to get, I had to get somebody to, and I was lifting the hood up, and my hands were getting all dirty and greasy, and I was looking at my watch, and finally did get to New York, and kind of all in a rush, and it was really not ideal, but it was exhilarating. It was exhilarating. I remember I was starting my first piece, and I turn around and I see my aunt and cousins parading down the aisle.
Of course.
They're from New Jersey. What can I say?
Your whole family was there.
Yeah, we did. Sure.
So it was a moment.
good. And I did okay enough for Mr. Holland of the New York Times.
And so did your older brother continue to play?
Yes, now he did, right. Now he really went a different path. He got out of music.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but he went to Oberlin Conservatory for a period of time, but he didn't stay in music. He was very, he had a great deal of difficulty in reading music. Mm-hmm. So he would read one note and then play it, and the next note, play it back and forth. It was very, very cumbersome to learn music that way. But once he learned something, he'd never forget it. He could still play. He can sit down and play things that he played when he was 12 years old. But he didn't continue. He went to Idaho. He left Philly and left for Idaho about 40 years ago. And he's an avid outdoorsman, mountain climber, and marathoner, and things like that.
Tell me about being a composer. That,
Yeah.
as much as you enjoy performing, composing is really kind of your love right
I
now.
can't say that I enjoy performing. That's a very stressful thing for me. And
Okay.
so it's very difficult. Composing uses a completely different part of my brain. And it's fascinating for me to do that. When I began Temple, I started as a composer. Yeah, well, that was my major.
Right.
But I found myself practicing other stuff, the other composers, because that was a lot easier.
Yes.
But composing it's a puzzle, like a puzzle.
Mathematical?
No, it's an artistic puzzle,
Why?
aesthetic puzzle.
Why are the arts important?
Oh, well, it's humanizing. I guess that would be a simple answer. Arts are humanizing.
You know, a lot of people feel like if they can't be the ones who paint, or they can't be the ones who compose, or they can't play, or they can't sing, they can't offer anything to the arts. What do you say?
Oh, those people? Well, perhaps that's true. I certainly can't offer anything to the field of geometry or physics. But the arts are so crucial. They're so important. I get tired of music many times. Like when I go into my car, I don't turn classical music on. I don't turn. Sometimes I would listen to WNOK or something, just for. But I usually wind up listening to NPR or something, talk show, because I have to get away from it. It's just it seems to be so pervasive. But yet I can sit sometimes and watch YouTubes of everything and anything, and it's beautiful what's going on in terms of music today.
Right.
There's so much music. I was listening to Gautier.
Yes.
Someone that I had
I
never
love
heard
that
of
song.
until maybe a couple weeks
Yes.
ago. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Looking at animation, beautiful.
And audiences who just come and enjoy the arts are so important. So if you,
Yeah. I have trouble though with arts with a capital A or culture with a capital C, and highbrow and lowbrow. And I think that those distinctions maybe are changing, and they're not as hard and fast as perhaps they were 50 years ago or 25 years ago. I noticed there's a jazz composer, Maria Schneider is her name. She's a wonderful jazz composer, singer, who is collaborating with a well-known classical singer. Yo-Yo Ma is a famous cellist, and he does collaborations with all kinds of things. Yeah. So all kinds of interesting.
the lines are blurring. You don't
yes,
have to be.
things exactly.
Yeah.
It's very much different than.
Well, it's to me a lot like life. You can enjoy all different aspects of life. You don't have to be, you don't have to just like mashed potatoes and roast beef.
Absolutely.
All right, tell me, if you could have a do-over in life, what would you do over?
Well, one thing that comes to mind, I remember yelling at my younger son, and I remember him crying and crying and crying. It was just, that would be something I would take back. And I often tell him, I say, Danny, if I could take something back, it would be that day.
Okay, you have two boys?
Yes.
How is it raising sons?
I love them. They are fantastic. So I have, two fantastic sons. We had a great time. We played ball together. We just played together. Video games. baseball. We did trips, lots of trips, hiking together, all kinds of stuff. It was really good. I'm really happy that I was able to do that.
Very good. How old are they?
One's 29 and one's 24.
Good ages.
Excellent.
Good ages. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and what would you do? And you do like to travel. You
Yeah,
said
sure
that.
do. I would love to go. I've been to Paris, and I'd love to go back there. It's, extraordinary place. I'm steeped in that culture and history.
Mhm.
So when I was there, it was every monument, every building, had all some meaning points. So I would like to go back there and spend some time looking for some of those old composers that you see in the realm, people that live there.
Okay, one last question, and we'll get into these Q&As.
Oh, okay.
What do you do to make the world a better place?
Oh, not much. I don't know what I do. That's a good question. What do I do to make the world better? I don't know.
You compose good music, how about that? We'll take that?
Okay, sure.
Okay, what's your favorite word?
Oh, morning.
All right.
I've never thought of it.
What's your least favorite word?
Door.
Door. Why?
I have no idea. I can't, these are difficult questions.
Mhm, they are.
Okay.
Very. What turns you on?
Let's turn, okay,
Paris, France, obviously. What turns you off? These are the quick questions.
I know. I said people with strong opinions.
Okay.
I hate people with strong opinions.
What sound or noise do you love?
I like wind chimes.
Okay. What sound or noise do you hate?
Let's see. Fingernail scratching on the eraser board.
Something on the blackboard. Yeah, I agree. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, I like languages. So I would be, I'd like to send a language. I don't know what. Linguistic.
Well, what profession would you most like not to do?
Ditch digger.
I hardly agree with that.
Gardener. I don't like gardening. I don't like yard
Get
work.
dirt under your fingers. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Anything.
Hi, Alan, come on in. Is there anything that I have not asked you that you would like to tell this group?
Well, I was thinking, that I should say something, profound or something and give advice. But I like sometimes to say to students that you're not here for a vacation, that you should do your maximum. And because, why would you come here for a vacation? So, and work to your maximum during the week, and then on the weekend, if you want to go out, have a good time, that's a good time to do it. But during the week, you should put blinders on, like a horse in a carriage has blinders on so they can't look to their sides to see what the other horses are doing.
Easy to get distracted sometimes. Okay, we're going to give you a chance to ask a few questions right now, so if you will, please speak loudly and tell me your name and then ask your question. You have a question? Yes. Sure, stand up.
So how did you go back to school when you dropped out of 10th grade?
Yeah, my parents didn't know what to do with me, and but they sent me to boarding school in Massachusetts of all places, so it was far away from them, and I was kind of left to my own devices. But I made it through high school somehow or other. I'm a fog now, but that's when I finished. I worked at a factory for a year in Philadelphia. Made electric fluorescent light bulbs. It's fascinating.
Another question? Yes.
Autumn, that's my name. I should probably say hello first. Hi. Did you make your sons go to Hebrew school since
No.
that wasn't a fun experience for you?
No, that's a good question. So my wife, I married outside the faith. My wife grew up Methodist, and but she's not. Now she went to church, and she grew up in a church. She grew up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and her parents are Pennsylvania Dutch, and they were active in the church. Her mother sang every Sunday and Wednesday night, and then she grew up that. But fortunately, not fortunately, I don't know, whatever, they were not especially religious, and so she was not especially religious either. And there was no problems with our parents accepting. I do know that her grandfather, and my father-in-law tells me this, that if he were alive, his father were alive today, I probably had a number of tattoos.
Because he would not have liked it.
That's another story. So he was a German immigrant.
Yes.
He came over about 1928 or so.
Yes, you have a question?
You said that you grew up. I don't know what to do. You said you grew up in a Jewish kind of community.
Yes.
But going to public school, was it still primarily Jewish, or was it?
There were lots of Jewish people in the public school, like in the elementary school that I went to, but there were a lot that weren't.
So did you ever run into any
Anti-Semitism?
Well, yeah, just like any kind of issues at all?
No. If I did, I was not aware of them. I didn't. I don't think I ever ran into any issues of prejudice or anything like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you were in school, hi, I'm one of the students. Whenever you were in school and you were like younger and facing hardships with education because of things like ADD, what kept you going that led you up to where you are now?
I think that I finally matured. It took a while. I was, late. I guess I still have problems, maybe, but it took a little longer. But once I got through adolescence, I think that was my difficulty. Once I got through that, then I was able to buckle down and do what I needed to do.
Question? Yes.
Dr. Weinberg, you are one of the kindest people on this planet. I think one of the most tolerant, one of the most generous of spirit. Where does that come from? Your mother, your father, where did that come from? Because you are inside yourself, you have a very kind and generous heart. I mean, you remember one day you yelled at your son.
Yeah.
If my son could say there was one day,
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. That's very nice. Probably from my mother, more than my father. I had trouble with my father. I think that was also a source of adolescent difficulties too. So, but my mother had some problems too. Who doesn't?
You have a question?
kind of a theme as you were talking. You described working in the fluorescent light factory,
Yeah.
and then going back to school,
Yeah.
and then leaving your PhD program, and
Yeah.
working at IBM at the
Right.
copy machine,
Yeah,
and then
go
going
on.
back to school. Looking back, am I interpreting that accurately? Like, did those experiences, no, I don't think I want to work in a light factory, I'm gonna get my degree.
Yes.
I don't think I want to work in IBM, I'm gonna get, that,
Well, I would say, though, in the light factory, I was too young. I was in my adolescence then, and so I was too immature to really know. But certainly, working at IBM, I knew that I needed to go back and make something of myself.
And I guess, too, it really shows that it's really never too late to make a change or to go into your education. You can continue to learn.
It's
Yeah.
never too late.
Anyone else? Questions?
Can I ask one?
Go right ahead.
When your wife was at IBM, I understand, it was probably she was the main breadwinner at that point.
But she still is.
I understand. And what was it like to be the kind of gopher and have her be the breadwinner? Sounds like you came from a fairly traditional Jewish home. Your
Yeah.
mother was the homemaker, your father was the breadwinner.
Exactly.
What was it like to have those roles reversed in your young adulthood?
My wife was always very positive and very supportive. That never became an issue. She never, if anyone would say anything about it, it would be myself, who would say, I need to be doing this, you need to be. But she said, well, that's just the way it is. So I'm very fortunate to find a goddess of a woman. And, but I also was able to enjoy spending a lot of time with my first son, especially during that time. But I always worked. I mean, I did something. Too.